I look
You should
okay?
get a notification.
Hi, Stella. Are you waving at me? Oh, we are watching our clock, getting ready to go live at 11 o'clock. We're doing our first art lesson from Idea Studio and hoping that we got lots of people watching us for something new to do after our week without having school last week. So I can't see our clock, so I've got my husband Mark.
Couple minutes.
I've got my son Joey. Some of you that come to the studio might know Mr. Joey. He's in and out of the studio a lot helping me. My name's Miss Ginny. And my other son Charlie, who is running the camera for us. So we got lots of help here today. If you're having any problem finding us on Facebook, we're streaming live. Make sure you've clicked the little thumbs up like symbol on Facebook. I think that gets you to us and you can watch us.
Watch me.
We've got activity bags that we'll talk about in just a minute. Somebody will tell me when we're exactly on 11 o'clock. We'll hope everybody's there. We'll talk about what to get out of your activity bag. If you're just finding us and didn't order and pick up one of our activity bags on Saturday, we'll talk about how you can do the project with us with some of the stuff you might just have in your house. So this is something new for us, something new for everybody. I can't see you, but you can see me, so be sure and go to your comment section and post some comments to me, or if you've got questions, let me know how things are going. If you need me to repeat something or do something, both Mr. Joey and Mr. Mark are manning the computers and they'll see the comments, and so anything you need to tell me. If you're having fun, let me know. I know some of you are out there watching. I think Bay's out there watching with her friends, Harper and Madison and Finley and Anna, Cecilia, I think. Some of these kids I haven't met. So Bay, tell Mom to take a picture of you all working and post it so we can see what people are doing out there. That'll be fun. I'm getting to see some of the people that picked up bags on Saturday. I actually got to meet a young man who's all grown up now, and when he was 4 years old, he came to summer camp here, and his name's Braden. Hi, Braden. And he and his mom came to pick up a bag, so I'm going to count on you all writing some comments so I don't feel like I'm all by myself here. And we're actually going to do a very cool project this morning called Ink Wash. Some of you that come to after school and homeschool classes here at the studio have done ink wash with me before. It's one of my favorite things to do. Turns out very cool. This is our inspiration picture up here. Our little dolphin jumping out of the water. Since most of us are kind of confined in our houses, we'll pretend we can see the dolphins out there jumping in the water. They probably miss all of us out there visiting them. If you have picked up an activity bag, you should have most everything in your bag that you're going to need this week. There might be a couple things each day that you need to gather up from home, so I'm going to give you a few minutes now to do that. We need some sort of cup that you can put some clear water in. Again, those of you that come here recognize my really messy little rinse cups here. This belonged to Joseph when he was here at summer camp this past summer. So get yourself a cup or some kind of container that you can put clear water in. It won't hurt the container. We're not going to put a bunch of paint in it. If you can find yourself a pencil at home, just need a number 2 pencil. Any kind of pencil will work. Doesn't need an eraser because, as you know, Miss Ginny usually doesn't like the pink erasers that are on the end of pencils. Pink erasers, sometimes if you've ever erased with them and they leave that kind of smeary pink stuff behind on your paper, that's why we don't use pink erasers. If you got an activity bag, you'll see a little white eraser in there, probably about this size. This is one of my kind of messy ones from the studio. We had a lot of bags get picked up in our last 24 hours, and so some of you might actually have one of my messy erasers in your bag because our supplies ran kind of short. So find yourself an eraser. If all you've got is the pink eraser on the end of your pencil, you're fine. So you need a pencil, you need an eraser, and you need a cup of water. Those of you with an activity bag will have a paintbrush in it, about this size, maybe a little larger. We also have a paintbrush in your activity bag that's a real wide chip brush. Don't need to use that one today. We need to use like a little small one. As I said earlier, if you are finding us on this video and watching us and don't have an activity bag, you can look forward to ordering one for next week. We'll have all new projects next week. But right now, just use your pencil and your eraser. We'll draw this dolphin. We're gonna look at how to draw it. I'm gonna draw right along with you on the paper here. If you don't have my special marker out of the activity bag that we're gonna use for an ink wash, go ahead, draw your dolphin with us. And it would be really cool to do in all kinds of things. We actually have a dolphin over here that was done with paint. So if you have some paints at home that you happen to keep in your house anyway, you could paint him when we're done drawing him. You can use crayons to color in your dolphin. You could use markers if you have some gray and black markers. Those would work cool. So if you don't have one of our activity bags, don't worry, you can still draw the dolphin with us and we'll figure out ways to fill him in. If you picked up an activity bag, this is the marker that we need to use today. This is called a Flair felt tip pen. You've got two markers in your activity bag. One is a Sharpie. It looks like this. Don't need your Sharpie today. We're going to use this marker today. It's a special kind of marker because it's not a permanent marker. This is what's called a water-soluble marker. Water-soluble marker means if you got the paper wet, if you spilled your cup of water on it, the water-soluble marker, the ink's going to run and bleed. And it's going to make this really cool ink wash with all these different shades of color on our dolphin. So we're using the Flair felt tip pen today. So the things you need to get out of your bag are the special pen that we've got. Get your eraser out. And then we have a pack of paper in your activity bag. And there's a little binder clip, and you got all kinds of pieces of paper that we're going to use through the whole week. We want the big piece of paper that says ink wash. Miss Ginny wrote in pencil on each piece of paper what we're going to do with it. So find the big piece of paper that says ink wash up in the corner in pencil. That's the paper we're going to use today. If you don't have an activity bag, any kind of paper that would be a little heavier piece of paper. The ink wash doesn't use a lot of water, so we don't need our really thick watercolor paper to do this on. But we did learn early on in the studio when we started doing ink wash that if you use just plain old copy paper, then it doesn't quite do a good job. So if you don't have one of my markers and you just are going to use crayons or markers, any kind of piece of paper is going to work. If you've got your activity bag, you want to find this Flair marker and you want to find your ink wash piece of paper, find a place to sit down at the table where you can still watch me, and we are going to look at how to draw our dolphin here. And what's our time? Somebody has to keep telling me time.
It's 11:05, Mom.
Okay. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, make sure we got everything together. While you're doing that, make sure you got a spot where you can put your piece of paper down. We want to have the piece of paper flat down on a table.
You've got a lot of people still joining you.
We are going to be using a little bit of water on this paper, so we don't want the paper to be standing up. Sometimes in our studio we prop things up on easels to do them, but we don't want to do that today with this one. This one will work best if it's flat on a table. I hear we've still got a lot of people joining us, liking us, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our project before we start it. If you're just tuning in, we're doing this wonderful ink wash today of this dolphin. And my helpers here are going to let me know if somebody's got a question while we're giving everybody a few minutes to get situated.
Have you gone on to the Facebook
Make
page?
sure that you found a surface to work on. Mr. Joey is telling me I got a question.
Hold on. Someone's saying they can't hear you even though the volume's turned all the way up.
Yeah, she's been talking a little louder.
Oh, Joey says I need to talk louder. And so I'm going to talk really loud so my granddaughter can hear. Can you hear me, Stella?
Can you hear Gigi?
Am I talking loud enough? Can you hear me? Okay, so if I forget to keep talking loud, just let me know. Like I said a few minutes ago, You can type comments or questions into the comment section on Facebook, on our Facebook page there. If I forget to keep talking loud, type in a comment. Joey will tell me. I've got Mr. Joey manning computers, Mr. Mark manning computers, so they'll let me know what kinds of questions and comments you have. We're getting all set up. Find yourself a flat surface like a table. This does not make a mess today. We're going to draw our dolphin here. We're going to do ink wash. If you found us and you don't have your activity bag, we're just started. This is our first day of doing lessons. We're going to have a lesson every morning this week, and then we'll continue next week. And for however many weeks we're out of school, we'll keep doing lessons for you. We'll have activity bags you can order for each week. They're available for pickup, grab and go. You don't have to do anything but just walk in the door and pick up your bags on Saturday. You pay right online. So anything that you need will be in these bags. If you're just joining us today and don't have a bag, that's okay. We're going to draw this wonderful dolphin. So all you need to do is find yourself a pencil, any kind of pencil at home, and a piece of paper. And I'm going to look at how we draw this dolphin. We're going to break it down in what kind of shapes, what kind of lines, and you're going to draw right along with me. I'm waving at my granddaughter. And so if you don't have an activity bag, don't worry. You can color your dolphin in with crayons. You could use markers. If you've got paint at home, you could use paint. So there's all kinds of ways to make your dolphin work. When we live streamed and tried this before. So we're figuring out audio. Just keep typing if I need to talk louder. I'll keep trying to talk really loud so you can hear me. I'll pretend like I'm hollering to Bay, who lives way out in Bluffton. And I'll pretend I'm yelling at you, Bay, and see if everybody can hear me. Bay's got some friends. They're all set up together doing this together, which should be fun. Today is an ink wash project. We're giving everybody a little time for this first day to make sure the logistics of liking us, finding us, and getting tuned in is okay. So as a repeat,
Okay. He's coming right back.
Mr. Mark's going to put a microphone on me. Maybe then I don't have to yell so loud. Okay. As a repeat, we're going to draw a dolphin today. See my little dolphin picture up here? Mr. Mark's put a microphone on me, so maybe that will help. Somebody put in our comment section and let me know if that helps.
Use the ink wash paper or the watercolor paper.
We're going to use the ink wash paper today. If you've got an activity bag, the things you need out of your activity bag today are your Flair pen. It's the skinnier of the two markers in there. Not going to use the Sharpie today. Pull your eraser out. And then on your little pack of paper that we put in there, they're all labeled. We want the large paper today. It's this size right here. And it says ink wash in pencil right up in the corner. I labeled each one of your papers. We don't need to use a watercolor paper for an ink wash project because we use very little water with it. So when we do this, we won't be dunking and dripping a lot of water. So we can use this paper that we're using today is actually what's called a mixed media paper. It's good for charcoal, which we're going to do later this week. It's good for ink wash. It's good for marker. It's good for crayon. It's good for all kinds of stuff. We did put watercolor paper in because tomorrow is going to be a watercolor project and we're going to use a lot of water. And so we're going to use some watercolor paper tomorrow. But today, any paper, if you don't have an activity bag, any kind of paper you'd have at home will work, and we'll draw right along with me. We're going to start looking at our dolphin in just a minute, and let's see. If you're logged on and you're seeing me, if I'm loud enough now, and we look like we're good to go, send some comments into Mr. Joey and Mr. Mark, and let us know if you're ready to go. We'll look at our little dolphin up here. He looks pretty cute. He looks very happy. The cool thing about dolphins is they always look like they're smiling because they have these wonderful bottlenose dolphins. I don't know if we have some people watching that aren't from Hilton Head. I know we talked to somebody in Atlanta that thought it sounded like a wonderful project for her kids. So if you don't happen to be on Hilton Head or in Bluffton, we have bottlenose dolphins off our coast that are always jumping and playing and jumping out of the water. So That's what, oh. This is my granddaughter. Stella, wave hi.
Guess everybody over there.
This is my middle kid, Charlie. He's running my camera for me today. We're trying to make me loud enough. Usually I don't have a problem with being loud, but you guys are a little far away from me. So I'll say hi to Bay. I know she's with a whole group of friends doing this. I'll say hi to Braden.
Can you wave?
Braden's my kid who was so grown up, if I didn't recognize his mother when they walked in on Saturday to pick up their bag, I never would have recognized you, Braden. You grew up really nicely. Who else do I know that's out there watching me? Sophia and Casey, are you on? Did Mom figure out all the techie part of this? She's pretty good at that. So I'm sure that I'm loud enough for you all to hear me. Mia and Evie, did your mom figure this out? I had a question coming from that family this morning as to how to find us on Facebook. So I'll see if Mia and Evie are there. Hi, guys.
They're saying it's better without the mic. So.
Okay, the mic makes me too loud?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. So better without the mic.
Just talk loud.
So I'm going to try to remember to talk loud. If I start getting too soft, type a message, and Joey's over here telling me to do this if I need to talk louder. Okay? I think we probably have got everybody. I can't see a clock when I'm sitting here. So timing-wise, think we're good to start looking at our dolphin. I've got a piece of paper here that I'm going to draw on with you. We're going to look at our little dolphin up here. Everybody found a pencil in their house that they need to use. If you have an activity bag, find your little white eraser. And then you needed to get a cup of water. We won't need this right away, so whoever's there at the house with you, if it's a big sister or a big brother, if it's a babysitter, if it's your aunt, your uncle, your grandma, your mom, your dad, everybody could be there. Some people are still out there helping run some of the businesses we need for essential items, but whoever's with you, have them find a cup of water for you. Fill it up with just clear tap water, and if you've got an activity bag that we're going to be doing our ink wash, you want to find your little round brush that's in there. You had a big flat chip brush in there that we're going to use tomorrow with our watercolor, but today you want this brush in a cup of water, so just have whoever's with you there get that ready for you. We'll use that later today. These are your activity bags you're looking through. There's lots of little pieces in there, so as you unpack your activity bag today to find what we need for today, you're going to get your piece of paper out that says ink wash. Everybody should have a whole pack of papers clipped on a board. I wrote in the corner of each one with a pencil what we would use them for. You need the big piece of paper that says ink wash for today. So once you start pulling all this stuff out of your activity bag, be sure to ask Mom if she's got a box or a Tupperware, something with a lid, so we don't lose any of your little parts and pieces. Next week's projects will be all new ones next week. We'll have new activity bags out on Saturday with different kinds of materials we might need, but we might reuse your eraser, or we might reuse the flare pen one day. We might reuse something that might be left over in your bag. So find a box from Mom or a Tupperware container, something you can put all your little parts and pieces in. Everybody got a pencil? You ready to go? We're going to look at how to draw this dolphin. And when kids have been in class with me, I always ask, you can draw anything you want if we just look at it and look at the shapes and the kinds of lines we need. And really, you can draw everything with just two kinds of lines. If you've been here before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Two kinds of lines. One kind of line is a straight line. If I had to draw my board up here, we got straight lines. Other kind of line you would use would be curvy lines. Looking at our dolphin here, we have a lot of curvy lines we're going to use. We'll have a few straight lines to make his fin, to make part of his tail, but we'll use a lot of curvy lines. So, we're going to look at our dolphin. Miss Ginny's got a piece of paper taped up right here on the board. This is the same paper that you're using at home. We're going to put our dolphin right in the middle, so he has plenty of space to splash some water around him. So take your finger and find the top of your paper, about the middle of the top of your paper. Found the top of your paper? When we find the top, we don't want to start drawing up at the very top because we need a little bit of space so our dolphin doesn't hit his head on the top of the paper. But find the top of your paper, and we're going to go just a little ways down, and we're going to draw this dolphin. Before we start though, one thing I wanted to tell you is we've got kids out there watching that are 5 years old. We got some kids out there watching, I know, that are 14 years old. So if you want to brainstorm how you could add a little bit more to your drawing, if you master drawing a dolphin and you thought that was so easy and you wanted to add another one, could you? You're the artist. My picture up here has one dolphin on it, but if you would like to add another dolphin, dolphins are very social mammals. They usually are in groups out there in the water. So I'm gonna teach you how to draw one dolphin, and then you could go on and you could draw another dolphin that would be facing this one. You could draw a little baby dolphin. You could maybe draw just the dolphin's tail sticking out of where you're gonna put some water on there. So you can think of ways to creatively add to your picture and make it more complicated if you want to. So just because we're going to learn to draw one dolphin doesn't mean you're not allowed to add more to your paper. So we're going to start, as I said, take your finger, find the middle of your paper up here at the top, and we're going to go down about this far. So we want to leave some space at the top of the paper so our dolphin doesn't hit his head. And we're going to start by drawing the top of our dolphin's head. He's got a very curved head, and then it's going to come down to this dorsal fin. So I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to press really hard so you'll be able to see it on here. You don't have to press very hard because we're going to end up going over it with your flare pen. Okay? So I'm going to find the middle of my paper, bring my finger down a little ways on the paper, and then I'm going to draw this nice little curve to the top of my dolphin's head. So I'm going to put a curve on like that. It's kind of like a upside down J, sort of. Okay? So you got the top of your dolphin's head here. And does anybody know what this is called? Dolphins has this nice big fin on the back. It's a little curved. If he was a shark, it would be a straight up and down fin. And we aren't drawing a scary shark. We're drawing a nice smiling dolphin. So we're going to add his big dorsal fin on the back here. So it's kind of like making a triangle, but we're not going to hook together the bottom of it. So we're going to give him a nice little dorsal fin. So I just made two parts of my triangle, kind of like making a big letter V laying on its side, but we curved it a little bit so he doesn't look too much like a shark. So we got a little bit of a curved side to our V and a little bit of a curved side to this side. Okay? Now if we followed from our dolphin's head here and came right around past his dorsal fin, he makes this nice little curve. His whole backbone makes this nice little curve like this. So I'm going to come back up here where we did the top of his head, and I'm going to come right past his dorsal fin, and I'm going to curve in here. So I get down to where I'm going to put his tail on.
That was a grandmother.
This curve puts me just about underneath where his head is. If I put my pencil down there, I want his little back to curve right around so that his eyeball will be almost right over where I just stopped. So let's see, if everybody's got the top of his head, his little dorsal fin on, and then we curved in like this. Where we stopped before we put his tail on should be right about underneath where we started with the top of his head. Did that work for everybody? We're starting to look like a dolphin. I guess at the moment it doesn't look too much like a dolphin. We don't have his mouth on there. Right now it looks like this could be the front of a bird with a bird beak. But pretty soon we'll get the rest of it on. He'll start looking a little bit more like a dolphin. Okay? Then give everybody just a few minutes to catch up. If you're thinking you want to add more dolphins, we'll be able to put a small one down here. We could put another, we could see part of one on this side. Just because our paper's only this big doesn't mean we can't add things that the dolphin might just be popping off the edge, or we just might see his tail sticking in from this side and the dolphin could be somewhere where you don't even see him. So Mr. Joey's adjusting us a little bit. Is everybody doing okay? Have I got any comments we need to change anything?
It's hard to see what's on the paper, but that's what Joey's doing.
Okay, Joey's
good.
zooming our camera in. If it was a little hard to see where I was putting lines, give us some comments back, tell us if this is a little easier. I could pick this up and put it in front of me, Joey, if that will help. Okay, I think we're good. I'm getting thumbs up. Okay, now, so we don't look too much like a bird beak here, let's go ahead and put the rest of our dolphin on. Before I put his tail on, I'm gonna come back up here to the top of his head, and I'm gonna put what they call his bottlenose mouth on. Now, look at the shape of the dolphin's mouth. He looks like a really skinny, long U laying upside down, doesn't he? So we're gonna put the dolphin's mouth on here. It's really pretty long too. Look at how long it is compared to his head. So here is my little head I drew. I want his beak, his mouth to stick out kind of far. So we're gonna put a very skinny U, okay? So I'm gonna make his bottlenose come out, turn a corner and come back. Just like I made a very skinny, kind of looks like a
Show it.
hair clip that my granddaughter might put in her hair.
Show the nose again.
Show the nose again. We're gonna
Up on
go
the picture.
up here. We're
Up on the
gonna
picture, John.
we're going to come out and make this very skinny U. Start where we started the head, and we're gonna draw a very skinny U, kind of like a. I'm telling you, it looks like a bobby pin. If you've got girls in your family and they wear hair clips in their hair or they use bobby pins, this is like drawing a bobby pin out here.
You need that down where you're drawing.
Oh, okay. I've heard this will help if we put this down.
Right next to
Okay,
it.
Charlie's helping me move our picture down so you can see a little easier. How's that look, guys? Better? Send me some comments, let me know. See how we're doing. I think we'll move over just a little bit like this. So,
Just put it right beside it.
That's good, that's good.
okay, so that will look good? We can all see? Okay, did you get his nose on here? He's called a bottlenose dolphin. So this looks like a very skinny U. And the coolest thing about our bottlenose dolphins here in the low country are they always look like they're smiling. So this is his nose or his mouth. And so we need to give him a little line. So he's got a top beak and a bottom beak. So see our little line on the dolphin here? We're gonna go right from the middle of our skinny U you made. And we're gonna make a line come right back here, and at the end we're gonna curve it up just a little bit. So he looks like he's smiling, okay? We're gonna stop right here where we're gonna put his eye, right in the middle of that head we drew in the beginning, okay? Did we get a mouth on our dolphins? Does he look like he's smiling? We want happy dolphins. Can't have sad dolphins. Dolphins still get to go frolic out in the ocean while we're all staying home. So we want our dolphins to be smiling really nicely. Okay, we got him smiling. We don't have to worry about putting his eyeball on right now because we can put that on with your marker. But we need to put the front half of our dolphin on. He's looking a little more like a dolphin, doesn't look so much like a bird beak anymore. But we want to come down his little neck here. This is like underneath your chin. We're going to go underneath the dolphin's chin. Do you see that we see his little front fin? Dolphins actually have two little front fins. Lots of times in your shows at SeaWorld or the aquariums, you see the dolphins almost clapping their little front fins. Their front fins are a little farther up on their body than this dorsal fin. Remember how we drew his back and you put a dorsal fin here? We want his little front fin to be a little closer to his head. It's also not quite as big, but it's like a triangle too that we're not going to put the other part on. So, you drew your mouth here. We got our bottlenose on there. Joey's smiling at me, must be working. We're going to give him a little bit of a neck right here. We don't want to make our dolphin get too skinny, so we're just going to bring his little neck down just a little bit. Don't want to go down as far as the dorsal fin. And then we're going to give him a little triangle for his front fin. So let's make a little triangle, like a letter V. It's got a little triangle. We don't want to put the other side of the triangle on because that would cut him off from his body. So give him a little letter V here. Now we want to swing right down to where we brought his back in. Okay? Does this line come all the way down and meet this line? That would mean he wouldn't have much much left on the bottom of his where his tail would be. So we want to bring this curve down, kind of like a copycat curve. We want to leave a little space at the bottom so we can hook the tail on. So take a pencil, curve in. We want him to get a little skinnier. As you curve in, you want him to get a little skinnier, but don't make him too skinny. Otherwise the tail might fall off. So bring this little curve down, let it get a little closer and a little closer, but not too close. Leave some space at the bottom. Okay? Then dolphins have a tail with how many parts? How many parts do you see on my picture? They don't just have one big tail like a beaver or whatever else has a tail. They're more like a whale, not as big as a whale tail. Dolphins' tails are littler, but they got two parts, and their parts are kind of like triangles. So we're going to make one triangle facing down because he just jumped out of the water, and we'll make the other triangle facing sideways. So come back over here where we brought his back down. Remember when we first drew his head and his dorsal fin and we came down his back? We're going to put the first side of his tail on down here. So we're going to give him a little, whoops. We're going to give him a little bit of a triangle there. So this V's almost standing straight up and down, okay? And then we're going to put another V on, oh, Charlie's going to rescue our picture. We'll put the other V facing sideways. Okay, Charlie's rescuing our picture. Everybody doing okay? The painters, there's a piece on the table right there, Charlie, if you want to secure my top there. Okay, Charlie's getting us set again. Everybody doing okay at home? We're doing okay here. Of course, I got like 3 helpers just for me. So hopefully you have lots of helpers at home that are helping you get done. So we'll be, by the time we finish this week, we'll be pros at doing this. Okay, so he looks more like a dolphin, right? Doesn't look like a bird beak anymore. If you want to go ahead and put his eyeball in, he kind of looks funny without his eyeball. And then I'm going to go over it with the marker. We could, excuse me, we can put, the top of his eye is just like a frown, like half of a circle. You want to put his eyeball right at the end of where his mouth was. Remember when you drew this nice little line to split his mouth in 2 parts? We want to put his eyeball right back here at the end of where you put his mouth. So put yourself a little curve, like half of a circle, and then we're going to put a little circle inside. So draw yourself a little circle inside, and now he looks like a dolphin, right? Does everybody look like a dolphin? You're going to draw another dolphin somewhere? We could do an upside down tail coming out of the water here. We could make a curve here and a curve here. Kind of like we got a funnel starting up, and then put 2 upside down V's. There's one, and there's one. And maybe I'll have just the dolphin's tail coming out of my water when I make it. Could you draw a really small little dolphin? If there was a baby dolphin over here, that might be fun. So you can add more dolphins. You can add a tail. You can put a dolphin facing the other way. Anytime we draw it, we're going to draw it the same way. We're going to start with its head, draw a curve, put our curvy letter V on for his fin, then curve it back around. One way that you can make sure he's jumping right is when you curve his back all the way down to his tail, it kind of lines up with where his eyeball's going to be. So you can add more dolphin. If you want to do that, I'm going to give you some time to do that a little later. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do now. Oh, what's our time? Somebody needs
37 minutes.
Okay. So you'll have plenty of time because you're going to be home the rest of the day. This live stream goes onto the Facebook page as video. So I think at the top of our Facebook page, you see a spot where you can click on our videos. It would show you all our videos that we've ever done. So once we're done with our lesson here, you can pull this back up and you can slow it down and you can pause it and you can go back and draw yourself as many dolphins as you would like. Right now, I'm going to have you get your flare pen that came out of your activity bag. Now, if you're watching me without an activity bag, this is where you could take your drawing here and you could find some markers at home or some crayons at home. Crayons work great because you can get all kinds of different shades of crayons in your pack of crayons. Markers, crayons, if you have paint at home, you could use paint. Try not to use too much water depending on what kind of paper you used. But if you have your activity bag, get your Flair pen out. What we're gonna do with the Flair pen is we're gonna trace over and cover each one of these pencil lines we just made. So I'm gonna do that. You join along with me. We're just gonna go right over the lines, and then I'm gonna show you where we're gonna do a little bit of shading. We're gonna use the Flair pen to shade a little bit, because then when we take our paintbrush out and make it bleed and make it turn into all these very cool colors, we'll have some shadows on our dolphin, and we'll get all kinds of pretty colors of gray for our dolphin. So take your Flair pen right now, take the cap off. They should all be good Flair pens. Sometimes if you've been here at the studio, our pens start running out. These are all brand new pens, so you should be set to cover all your pencil lines. So just slowly go over where you put a pencil line. Put your Flair marker right down there. If you don't like how one of your lines turned out, use your eraser and shift your line a little bit. That's why we used pencil, because I want you all to feel really good about your dolphins. Mr. Joe told me that when we're all done, you can have mom or your big sister or your aunt, your uncle, whoever's with you, grandma's, take a picture of how your drawing turns out. When we're all done, take a picture and post it so that we can see how everybody's dolphins looked. Won't that be great fun? We're all watching from all over the place right now, and you can see me, but I can't see you, and I would love to see how your dolphins turn out. So if you need to change a line, do anything, when you've got it the way you want, use your Flair marker here, go over all your pencil lines. I'm going to go ahead and do that while you're working on yours. You don't need to press very hard with your Flair pen. Sometimes if you press really hard, like when we're using our Prismacolor markers, our Flair pens, our Sharpies, if you press too hard, it almost makes it hard for the ink to come out. So make sure you've covered each one of your pencil lines. I'm going to go over all my pencil lines right now. Gotta make sure I went over all my lines. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, I think I went over all my lines. Go over my little tail that I drew down here. I'm gonna make that fin a little bigger on that side. Okay. Once you've got all your lines gone over, just because your pencil line was there doesn't mean that's where you had to put your Flair line. Miss Ginny changed her tail. Looked a little funny. So I made my V a little bit bigger on that side. Okay, now, if you look at our picture of our dolphin here, he's got some shadows, doesn't he? Down here at the bottom, underneath, what's closest to the water, he's got a little bit of shadow down here at the back of his back. His bottom fin's got more shadow on it. Back here on the back of his dorsal fin's got more shadow. He's got a little shadow on his belly here. Now, does he have shadow on the top of his head? Not as much. Does he have shadow out at the end of his beak? Not as much. Gets a little bit of shadow on his neck here. So this is how we make shadows with ink wash. We're going to take this Flair pen, and you don't want to press too hard. If we press really hard with the Flair pen, we kind of cram all the ink down in the paper so hard that our water won't be able to pull it back up to make all our pretty shadows. So we don't want to press very hard, but we're going to add a little bit of extra lines where we want a shadow. So if I want this back of his tail to be in shadow, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put some extra shadow lines here. I'm just going to take my Flair pen. Don't press hard. Just press really lightly and fill in almost like you're trying to color in part of his tail there. I'm going to give him a little bit of shadow on this part. So it doesn't take much. You can kind of see how many lines I'm adding here. Doesn't take a whole lot of lines. We don't need to color his whole body in. Then he would turn into I don't know, he might look like a zebra. He might have big black stripes on him if we color in too much. So you don't need too many lines. We're gonna put a few lines like this. Remember how we said at the back of his dorsal fin, we want a little shadow back there. So we're gonna color in a little bit of lines there. Where else did we need some shadows? A little bit on his belly here. So we'll put a little bit on this side. And let's see, where else? Any place else we should put shadow? Let's look at our picture. We got some nice good shadow down here. So I might put a little bit coming over on that tail. We got a little bit of shadow coming here. I got more shadow on his tummy here. We got some shadow here. I'm gonna put a little bit on his neck, not too much. We'll just put a little bit up here.
How did I reverse it?
Okay, have you guys got some nice shadow? I'm gonna put some shadow on my little tail that I made here. Okay, Mr. Joey and Mr. Mark are playing with my camera, so I think we need to wait a minute.
Mr. Mark reversed it on you, so.
Mr. Mark reversed our camera. Well, that's not good. So
Just give it a second.
I'm gonna
Let
give it a
people catch
second,
up to you.
make sure we get the camera back where it needs to be.
Well, you needed to be able to see the shading.
They're all trying to figure it out. Bay, you would be laughing if you were in here right now. It's taking a whole crew of them to make our camera work. Are we back on, do we think?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody send a comment to Mr. Joey, let us know. We're good? Okay, everybody says we're good. Did you get your shadows drawn on with your Flair pen? If you're using crayons, this might be good to get your black crayon out into some of these areas where we put shadows, or if you have a black marker, you could use a little black marker here and then find a gray marker. Okay, I'm gonna show you how cool ink wash is. Now I think this is where Mr. Charlie or Mr. Joey or somebody's gonna come bring the camera over here. I'm gonna put my paper down flat because to put water on it, we don't want the paper to be standing up like mine is. If we put water on it, then it kind of tends to bleed and run. So you want to lay yours flat down. Mr. Charlie's going to come over so you can watch me right here on my little table. I can figure out how to do it. Okay, can you guys see my dolphins laying down here flat? Are we good? Okay, you have your container of water, right? You put your brush in the water. We want to, when you put your brush in the water, see how the brush is going to drip? We want to tap it on the side because we don't need too much water, all right? So tap it on the side, and then the water's going to, on your brush, is going to act like a magnet. Wherever we put it down, and then we inch it up towards the Flair pen, it's going to make that ink bleed. We see just a little bit of color coming in. See how my gray is starting to show up? If I push the paintbrush through the line, it's going to bleed the other way too. So we want to try to keep the paintbrush on this side. See how my ink starts bleeding? I don't want to push the paintbrush through the line. The ink will only go where the water is, okay? So if we put it right up to the line, we'll get a little shadow right along the line there. I don't want his eye to bleed, so I'm going to keep the water away from his eyeball. We're going to put the water right up to where that ink is, and it's going to give me this wonderful gray color. Now, look what happens where we put extra shadow ink. I'm going to swirl this right in here and see all my nice dark color. As long as this is wet, I can keep shading it. So I don't want his dark to go too much farther, so I'm going to rinse that ink off, and I'm going to bring some clear water back and spread it right out like that. So we can get all these cool shades. I'm going to put some ink right in here where it gets dark on his tummy. And I don't want his tummy to turn the whole dolphin dark, so I'm going to rinse that black out. Put some more water. As long as that water is wet, it'll bleed into the next part. See all my cool kind of wrinkly dolphin leathery kind of look we get. Okay, I'm gonna rinse that black off. I'm gonna come down here and make this turn into some shadow. And we'll rinse off that ink, and look what's gonna happen on the tail. Remember how much ink we put on the tail? It's gonna be really dark down here on his tail. So I'm gonna paint that in. And look at all that dark I've got. I don't want the whole tail to turn dark, do I? So what do? You rinse that dark ink off your brush, pat it really dry, come back out here, and then the clear water will spread it out so it won't get too dark. Rinse it off when it starts getting too dark. Don't forget to tap the brush off on the edge of the glass. All right, then we're gonna come down here, fill in his little bottom here. Should we give his neck a little bit of water? I'm gonna rinse it out, pat all that water off of there. I'm gonna give his little neck a little shadow. Now, I don't want his neck to look like a zebra stripe, so I'm gonna rinse off that ink, and while it's wet, I'm gonna let it go right, blend into the rest of him. We'll blend in his little fin, and we'll let it bleed from these two sides. Looky there. Does he look like a dolphin? He looks like a very happy dancing dolphin here. If you drew another dolphin or a tail, you can come in and do the same thing over here. What you think, Stella May? Does it look like a dolphin? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Stella says it looks like a dolphin. Is yours looking like a dolphin out there? Bay, is yours looking like a dolphin?
No.
Oh, Stella's not too sure. Bay, I don't think we've ever done a dolphin in ink wash. We've done elephants, haven't we, and alligators. But I think this is the first time we've done a dolphin. So look, see, I made his tail, and he's just going to disappear down into the water there. How are y'all doing? Is it looking like a dolphin? Now, you can see, you want to keep that there for a minute while you guys are working. The trick with ink wash is to keep dipping, rinse that ink off if you don't want it to get too dark. Tap it off. You don't need a lot of water with ink wash. Almost the less water on the brush, the better. But as long as the ink wash was still wet, you could blend it into the open areas. So it's a really fun project you can try now. I've still got lots of space on my paper, so I could put a little dolphin jumping over here. I could put one jumping over here. I could have another tail disappearing into the water down here. We could draw all kinds more dolphins on here. It's kind of fun to experiment on the paper and try doing ink wash. And there's lots of things that look very cool in ink wash. We've done really, really, really cool elephants in our studio with our after school and home classes. Elephants make great pictures with ink wash because they get all that gnarly little leathery skin to them. We did an alligator, I think last year. We did alligators in here, which looked really awesome, and we did those with some ink wash, I think, although we might have used our markers. So if you don't have this special Flair pen at home, get out some markers, layer some markers. You could find some gray markers and some black markers and layer one marker right over the other and make some really cool shadows on your dolphin. Crayons would work really great because you can layer crayons and make all kinds of shades. In this picture, Mr. Mark, I'm going to hold this one up. In our picture that was our inspiration here, you can see how I've got some water on the bottom here. So if you want to add some water to yours, see if you've got a blue crayon at home or a blue marker, any kind of marker, Crayolas, washable markers, any kind of marker would work. And add some water. If you look at my water down here, it kind of got splashes. We're having a rough, choppy water day out on the water today. And I made some splashes, some curves come right up by his tail, so it looks like he just splashed right out of the water. And can you tell that my blue isn't solid, is it? We see some white showing through our blue. I see dark blue and I see light blue. So if you've got markers, when you go over and over a marker in one place, sometimes it gets a darker shade. Leave some white showing. This dolphin's having one of those days on the water with lots of choppy waves. So give yourself a little bit of water at the bottom with a crayon or a marker. And we're getting some angles from that we need to move. So we're gonna readjust here a little bit. While you guys are finishing up on your project, I'm gonna let you know what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And Joey's holding up my cue cards. I have cue cards. Don't laugh at me, babe. I have cue cards to make sure I didn't forget something. Joey's not holding it where I can see it. Tomorrow, what we're gonna need for you to gather at home for tomorrow, we're gonna do a watercolor project tomorrow. Tomorrow we won't be drawing anything. We're gonna do a watercolor project just thinking about our color wheel. We're gonna use warm colors, so we're gonna talk about the color wheel. We're gonna use some warm colors of paint, and we're gonna use some cool colors of paint. And tomorrow you've got all the paint in your activity bag. If not, and you're watching us and want to see what you've got at home, think if you've got any paints or markers would work also. Red, orange, yellow. These are our warm colors. Think of fire, think of sunshine. Cool colors we're gonna use tomorrow are, oops, there we go. My dolphin was trying to jump off my table. Cool colors we're gonna use tomorrow in your paint pots that are in your activity bags. We've got some blue and some purple. So if you've got crayons or markers and wanna follow us along, think of blues, purples, greens, think of snow and ice and cool water in the lake. So those are cool colors, those are warm colors. We're gonna do a watercolor project tomorrow. So you'll need a table area that you might be able to lay some newspaper down on. We're gonna use our paint and paint right out to the edge of our two papers that we've got in our activity bag. So you might wanna make sure you got something on your table. If it's grandma's good table, you don't wanna get paint on the edge of the table. So a piece of newspaper or something you can put underneath your paper for tomorrow. We will need a pair of scissors. Figured everybody's got some scissors at home. And then to finish off our project tomorrow, we'll need a little bit of glue. We're actually going to be cutting our watercolor creations into strips and learning to weave a mat tomorrow. So tomorrow's projects, you'll need some water, you might need a paper towel, pair of scissors and a little bit of glue. Don't forget to go online and take a picture of your dolphin so you can post it to the Facebook page, or they posting to Facebook so we can.
Or tag us.
Oh, and then tag us. Post your picture, have mom or whoever take a picture of your dolphin, post it to your Facebook page, and then tag us. And
Yes, studio.
we have a hashtag Idea Studio HHI. Mr. Joey is nodding at me. I did that right. Tag us, hashtag Idea Studio HHI. And then we'll be able to see everybody's dolphin. And I'm glad you're all out there. I hope you're all out there. I know Bay's there. Bye, Bay. I will see you tomorrow morning. We will be doing a watercolor project, and we'll be here every day this week. We've already got, I think, where you can go on and book to get your activity bags for next Saturday. This coming Saturday, we had a grab and go. Our front door to the studio was propped open. I had a table at the front door with the bags on. You had to have no contact with us. I had a checklist standing back here in the studio. You just picked up your bag with Clorox wipes that we had out there, and off you went with your supplies. We'll have those ready this Saturday. If you want to order bags for next week, we'll have all new projects. Tomorrow we'll be doing watercolor, and I look forward to seeing you then. Did I forget anything on our move, Joey? I have to see. I think I got everything on my cue cards. So I will see you all tomorrow. And baby, sure and have mom post a picture of all of your work together. Bye.
Say real loud.
Bye-bye.
Stella says bye. Bye-bye.